when I was 19. Our family had to get together, had to get even closer in a way. That it was quite of an unfortunate situation, but fortunate situation as well, because my mum and I got even more closer. Us bickering about, stupid stuff when I was younger has actually turned into a big thing where we talk about how we can support each other when my dad passed away. Already very family oriented. But the thing is that my dad was kind of like the pillar. He was kind of the golden retriever. My mom was kind of the strong one, a bit of matriarchal structure. And then, yeah, my dad, he was just the pillar in sense of he was always the laughing one. He was a golden retriever. And I think once my dad passed away, we realized how much of the space that he held, it was gone. And to fill up that space, we therefore actually had to get together. It's not that easy. It took a long time. But in saying that, it is also something that had to happen for us to grow together, because it's very difficult, to be fair. Especially seeing such a strong figure in my life, aka my mother, seeing the strongest figure in your life kind of collapse. And I saw her not as a mother, I saw her as a wife, I saw her as a woman. And I think that was a big factor of it. Seeing my mum and seeing my mum as a woman, I think that's the hardest part, is that
I really appreciate your time. And to me, there are certain topics I'm passionate about. One of those is the 1.5 second generation of Asian New Zealander. Welcome. And I will let you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Ivan. Yeah, kia ora koutou. My name is Helen Lee, but my grandparents named me Na Kyung when I was first born. Yeah, I introduced myself as Helen Na Kyung Lee because I didn't want to leave my ethnic Korean name away. My parents are from Daegu, South Korea. I moved to Tamaki Makaurau, Aotearoa, New Zealand, when I was just 1 year old back in 2002, 2003. But when we first moved to New Zealand, we moved to Whangaparoa, so outside of Auckland. It's quite a drive up because my mum's best friend lived there. So we were there for a while, and that's kind of where I grew up in the first 2 years or so of living in New Zealand. And then we moved back down to kind of central Auckland around Three Kings, and I'm currently staying in Mount Roscoe. I guess a little bit about me. I've been in uni for a long time. I'm currently studying my Masters of Public Policy at the University of Auckland. My academic background is in psychology, criminology, and education as well. And throughout my studies, I've realized that I'm actually really passionate about improving health equity and creating policies that have a really good, meaningful impact on people's lives. That's something that I've always kind of carried across since I was younger, and I realize now maybe I can actually turn this into a job. But yeah, over the past few years, I've just had the opportunity to work across policy and research and marketing and community development, which had me kind of given me a mix of like analytical and critical thinking. And I guess the main thing about me is that I just love bringing people together. I love community, just having community programs and events of communications that kind of make complex information easier to understand for everyone is super important. Outside of university, actually, I work with ANCAD, the Auckland North Community Development. My role as an event assistant is kind of where I support the delivery of programs that build the capabilities of community organizations, charity, and social enterprise. So I do that as my part-time alongside my master's and other sorts of stuff, because I also help with Ads on Pads, which is a social enterprise to reduce period poverty through innovative partnerships and menstruational health education as well. So a lot of stuff is going on, but yeah, I just love community, and I love what you're doing as well, spreading the word about 1.5 immigrants.
I do have a question to ask you. So your grandparents name you Nan Kwan, is that correct, my pronunciation?
It's pronounced Na Kyung.
So sorry, so off. My God, Na Kyung.
It's all good. It's spelled Nagyong. Young. So it's like Nag Young in a way, but in Korean it's Nagyong. That's my grandparents created that name for me when I was born in Korea. I think it was a traditional thing. You would go to someone, you pay them and be like, can you make a beautiful, name that represents something? And I think there was a couple. I think there was Na Young as well and Na Gyong. So a little bit different, but my parents decided to choose Nagyong. When we immigrated to New Zealand, I guess kind of a big part of immigrating is that a lot of the Western community aren't able to actually pronounce your ethnic name. So to accommodate, that's why my name got changed to Helen. Which is a pretty easy Western name. My mum realized the politician like Helen Clark. So she said, oh, I want my kid to be named a politician. I want her to do great stuff. So that's why she named me
Oh,
after Helen
wow.
Clark.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
why I want to ask you about the Nakukyon must mean something as well. Is there some meaning behind it? And also Helen's, because all names have a meaning and purpose behind it. So it's good to know your mom's was inspired by Helen Clark and like a female can be this great. I want her to be this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there was a meaning behind Nagyong. It was like kind of like continuously flourishing, just doing well. But I just think that applies to every like name that, gets made though.
No,
Like,
that's beautiful. That is so beautiful.
thank you. And it's actually like kind of sad that I changed my name because it's like, in a sense, now as I'm becoming older, I'm turning 25 this year, and it makes me think, oh, I really need to reconnect with
No,
my roots. And I
oh,
feel like a big part of it is actually reconnecting with my name as well.
can I tell you
Yeah,
something though? Your
yeah,
mom picked the right English name. Just look at Helen Clark. She's still continuously flourishing.
yeah,
She's been to the
100%.
United Nations and she's set up Helen Clark Foundation. She's still doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, still
So the
is.
essence is there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's kind of weird. She kind of predicted it for me. I'm not saying I'm going to be a politician or
Who
anything.
knows?
Definitely not my realm, but I think it's really inspiring the mahi that she does, and I think how she's giving back to her community. And despite her long politician year, like she's doing amazing still, with especially with the Helen Clark Foundation as well. Yeah, like my Korean name, I guess she's also continuously flourishing.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm curious what trying you with equity health issues and how that came about.
Like why I started kind of doing all of this.
I
See?
have a sense that you start from very young age.
It's weird because I think at the time I didn't realize, but then now I like after a lot of reflection, you realize that when you're young, there's certain things that really shape into you being a young adult now. So my parents used to own a cafe, I want to say 14 to 16 years, and I didn't think about it as a big deal, but it was like a third space basically. And I didn't know
Mm.
what a third space was, but now I can say it was a third space. It's where community groups were being held, as were meetings. It's where you pick up your kids after school. You would tell them, let's go to the cafe after, or like after swimming class, you would go there. We also had a retirement center nearby, so all the elders will come along. I think that really helped me think about what community is and how
Mhm,
important community is.
mhm.
Um, and at a very young age, my mum also told me to volunteer. I think she kind of predicted that finding a job is super hard. So at a very young age, she said, to find a good job, you need to start volunteering at a very young age to be able to talk to different types of people. And I think through that as well, because I started when I was around 12 years old. Yeah, so volunteering around 12, 11, just by myself, I would go up and I think I did it with, it was like the Red Cross and stuff, like even as easy as just shaking a bucket by the street and like asking for donations. I was that kid, but that really helped me shape like what is community, why it is important to me. And I realize a lot of inequities as well when you go into that, and you actually realize how much privilege you have as well. I want to say that as an immigrant, as a woman from a Korean background.
I'm a crying baby. So if you see me tearing out, just carry on. Pretend you didn't see
Okay,
any. I
okay.
I start tearing out because I can see the biggest influence person in your life is your mom.
Yeah, it's definitely my mom and my dad. They're super hardworking,
Yeah.
and coming from Korea with 3 kids, not knowing the language as well, moving here. It's such a scary thing. Because I wanna move to a different country, an English-speaking country in the future, and that concept is so scary, but imagine taking 3 kids, not knowing the language, not knowing the culture, what you're getting yourself into. I think that is it takes so much courage for both of my parents to have, and I do very much appreciate it and acknowledge what they were able to do and the sacrifices as well that comes with it, because it's not so easy. But
But I
yeah, I
like her
think
wisdom. I mean, like she knew you have to start from young age, even volunteering.
yeah,
That is beyond any
yeah.
Asian parents that I have come across because they only want their children to study hard. They never thought about asking their children to do volunteering. I mean, some understand that you need that as your future reference. I think that's come with a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's a big testament of my mum's background as well. So the reason why we moved to New Zealand is because she knew how difficult it is to survive in Korea. You continuously have to study from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. and it's a repeat for the next 15 years of your life or something. But the thing is that my mum, she originally wanted to kind of become like a news reporter, like a politician as well. So then she was quite community focused as well. My mum's Catholic. Um, and she was involved in like community like events at the church. She was like a youth leader and stuff. So I think that like volunteering aspect of it was so important that she also wanted to tell me to do it. Volunteering is just it's selfish but also selfless at the same time. They kind of come with both pros, right? And I think she was able to recognize that very early on and to pass that wisdom down to me. And now I've also said to my mom, like, if I have kids, I would love to take my kids out 1 day of volunteering every month just to get them out and about. Because it's something that's so useful. You're talking to different people who are different backgrounds. You're talking from people who aren't in your school, aren't in your churches. You just know different kinds of wisdoms. Like I would have not figured out what I want to do unless I had to go through, unless I didn't go through that. So I feel very blessed.
So you were doing volunteering work on the street and seeing what's going on in the community, how privileged you were.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was honestly, that's probably why I started focusing on a lot of the inequities because at such a young age, I was able to see it in front of me through the volunteering experiences. I did so many different type of co-curriculars in intermediate and high school, not just to become a prefect, but because I was genuinely passionate about it. It was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to give back to the community and it felt like the right thing to do as well, to be honest. And I feel like that's the same kind of thing that I carry on now. I just feel like giving back to community is just my number one thing, and I would love to continuously do it. Sometimes it's tiring, of course, because
Yeah,
everyone has a full-time
this
job and
that's right.
life happens. But I feel like it's just needed because the world needs to move, but there's some people who are left behind, and I don't think that's a good world to live in if there's some people, suffering, I guess. It's definitely helped me shape who I am today and what I do. And my friends recognize that as well. They know that if I'm not with them, if I'm not at work, I'm doing a community thing. And I think that's just part of me.
To be honest, I can sense that it's in you. I think I'm a very sensitive person. I'm very empathetic, and I can sense that even when you talk about it, the passion you have is enormous. The genuineness coming from you. But I tell you what, I felt like you also carry your mom's legacy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think in a way um it's really interesting because I have older siblings. So my older sister, she's 9 years older than me. She's married. She has family. She has 2 kids. My older brother is currently living in London. He's 6 years older than me. My mum kind of took care of them very differently
Yeah,
for each stage because the age gap
that's
was
right.
so different.
I hear you.
And also
Yeah.
it's like our Western culture side as well. It was hard for her to manage. And I think when it came to me, she never really she had a lot of expectations. And with my older siblings, it was a little bit different. But with me, because it's such a big age gap, she said, Helen, you're a lot more Western as well. You live your life. You do what you want to do. If you want to become a teacher, just look after kids and stuff. That's fine. You just be happy, Helen. And that's okay because I was the youngest. And I think that made me also believe that, I can just do whatever I want to do. It gave me that opportunity, but that also made me reflect what are my values and how do
Mm.
I actually want to give back to my community through my work as well. My mum and I are very close, and my dad as well. But my mum, especially, she always says to me, I'm kind of a reflection of her in a sense, just how ambitious I am. And my mum was very ambitious as well. And then she met my father, and then they moved to New Zealand, which is amazing. But they always, like I said earlier, it comes with sacrifice, right? It's something that's not so simple. And back then, when she was a lot younger, before she had 3 kids, she wanted to move to Germany. So she was starting to learn German as well, and she wanted to move. And I think just there's so many ambitious parts of it. And I think through her storytelling to me as well, I think I kind of got ambitious about my future of what I could potentially do. And I think I'm very lucky because as a 1.5 immigrant, that's not usually the case. It's not that easy. My mum was very open-minded. It
Wow.
took a long time for her to get there as well, but in
I hear
saying
you.
that, she did open up, and I think that's the most important part, right?
You know what is funny though? It's not the first time I heard about being an Asian migrant's mother. They have very different expectation of the first
Mm,
and second and the third one because they also learn through their first and second children
yeah.
about the way in which certain things are a bit mismatched. So when it comes to the third one, they realize that they need to change. But that is amazing because it means that we thought parents wouldn't change. They change.
Yeah.
And also they're able to take the lessons on board. Like, what can I do better?
Yeah, and 100%. And I think that's the really interesting part because not a lot of parents in general, specifically in my context, like Korean mums, that it's hard for them to actually reflect on it, right? And to improve because it's so easy to kind of have that stubbornness that comes with a parent to believe that I am the person who's older, therefore I am the correct one. And therefore there's only one path that we're going to go. But no, my mum was actually very much the opposite. It took her a while, like I said,
Yes.
but a lot of reflection. And I think the interesting part is that I was very outspoken when I was younger. My 2 older siblings, if there was something like if there was a problem with my family and stuff, they would talk about it, but they wouldn't be too outspoken in comparison to myself, where I would just call out my mom's behavior at a very young age. We're always clashing, and like I said, I think it's maybe
Yeah.
because we're so similar, right? And then in high school, it got worse because I'm going through puberty. My mom was going through menopause. So even more clashes as well. So then,
Wow.
because of those clashes, it made us a lot more closer. Because there was a lot of vulnerability that came into it. Which is scary, but in saying that, it's kind of what made our relationship now as well. Because in 2019, my dad passed away when I was 19. So,
Sorry to hear that.
no, it's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was very unfortunate, but my dad did pass away when I was 19. It was weird because our family had to get together, kind of have that bond, had to get even closer in a way. But it was quite of an unfortunate situation, but fortunate situation as well because my mum and I got even more closer. Us bickering about, stupid stuff when I was younger is actually turned into a big thing where we talk about how we can support each other when my dad passed away. So I'm kind of glad we did bicker when I was going through puberty and she was going through menopause, because I wouldn't be able to connect with her as easily if that wasn't the case. So yeah.
Can I ask you just how do you turn such a vulnerable moment
Mm, yeah.
to connect? Sorry, it's me. I always like that during podcast. My
Ah,
kids don't cry. I cry like a baby. Sorry. So how do you turn such a vulnerable moment to be such a gift?
it's no, this is a beautiful question. I think it's very difficult. It's something that is it doesn't happen as often as it should, especially in Asian, if you are from an Asian background. And I think it's because already very family oriented. But the thing is that my dad was kind of like the pillar. He was kind of the golden
Mm,
retriever. My mom was kind of the strong one, a bit of matriarchal structure. And then
yeah.
yeah, my dad, he was just the pillar in sense of he was always the laughing one. He was a golden retriever. And I think once my dad passed away, we realized how much um how much of the space that he held, it was gone, and to fill up that space, we therefore actually had to get together. It's not that easy. It took a long time, but in saying that, it is also something that had to happen for us to grow together because it's it's very difficult, to be fair. It's very
Yeah.
difficult, especially, seeing such a strong figure in my life, aka my mother. Very strong figure. She's insane. I love her so much, and my dad as well, and it's just seeing the strongest figure in your life kind of collapse, and I saw her not as a mother, I saw her as a wife, I saw her as a woman, and I think that was a big factor of it. Seeing my mum as a woman, I think that's the hardest part is that
I really love what you say. You just hit a nail on the head about you stop seeing your mom as mother. You see her as a mother, as a woman who lost her. And it's the first time you realize that she's not just mom.
yeah, definitely, and you start to break everything.
So I'm
It's
all
okay.
right. I'm all right. I just want to. I love it. I love it. It's the love and the energy you share is amazing. I just moved by it. I can sense
Yeah.
how much love there is for your father,
Yeah.
for your mom. So yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
No,
Yeah.
you're good, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think, that's just the hardest part is that
Mm.
kind of when the biggest figure in your life breaks down and you're kinda seeing her as a baby in a way. Yeah, I have to look after her, I have to nurture her, and doing the smallest things is very hard for myself, but also for my mum, so our family had to really gather. My older sister and her husband as well, and my brother, we all had to gather and look after my mum. It's the smallest things of just cleaning the house and just eating together, make sure that she's doing okay. Yeah, and I think I'm very blessed because my family had a lot of open conversations about grieving.
Mm.
It's very
Mm.
difficult because
Mm.
it's kind of a domino effect. When you start talking about grieving,
That's
the
right.
process of grieving, everyone feels really sad, right? And it starts to hit other, like impact other people, and you don't want other people to be crying because we've just stopped crying about it 2 hours ago. So I think that's the hardest part. Yeah.
And it's not easy as well, even as Asians family,
Yeah.
because we have been taught not to overwhelm another person with emotional stuff.
Yeah.
And even though the elephant is in the room, it's almost like we're still not going to touch it because we don't want to overwhelm another person. And so I understand what you means, like coming together and even have that conversation that for Patia family, that might be a lot easier. For
Yeah.
Asian, that took a lot of courage and
Yeah.
willingness to change and be vulnerable.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's really interesting because, like I said, like my older siblings, we have a big age gap. So I think the reason why my parents and I were very close is because my siblings were at university while I was at home with my parents. So that's probably why I was really close with them. And I was so aware at a young age that when you grow older, you have a censorship with your parents in a sense.
Mm.
You tend not to tell them about your personal life because you don't want them to bother you or anything. But I didn't want that at all, actually. It's actually really funny. My parents love going on road trips every weekend, and they wouldn't want me to be at home, so they would take me to road trips with them. There would be a random 4-hour road trip just on a Sunday because my dad loves driving, so we would just go, and the 4 hours, I would just be talking about what's going on in school, what's going on with my friends, and what's going on in society as well at such a young age, and thinking about what their perspectives are as well. And I think because of that foundation, at least with my mum, that helped me connect with her more after my dad passed away, because we had that foundation of talking about our perspectives in regards to society, about even political views as well. Like parents and I have different political views because of our upbringings, but that didn't that didn't really alter how much we loved each other either. So, yeah, I think it's hard, but it takes a while for sure. And it's worth it. It's really worth it being able to be open with your family, the ones who looked after you from when you were a kid, when you couldn't look after yourself. I think a lot of people forget that. And a lot of people forget that your parents, it's their first time. They were just a woman, a man, and they just They're just trying their best in this world. Yeah.
So that kind of perceptions and understanding really came when you all lost your father, isn't it? Because that is the biggest shift. It's like you're really able to see your mom from a very different
Yeah.
lens.
And I think it's actually interesting because my first year uni, I took a sociology 101 paper,
Yes.
um, and it actually just talked about how before your mum is a mum, they have so many different roles. Even if
Mm.
as a father, you play so many different roles. Not even within your family group. If you're a teacher, you play so many different roles as well. If you're a
Mm.
doctor, and I think it actually came in at a very perfect time of learning that because it just opened up to me that wow, my mum, who's just a mum to me, she lived her life before me as well.
Yes. That's right.
My mum was also dating before my dad. My mum had her family like issues as well, and she had to sort out their like her lived experience is so different to mine. And I think being able to hear her out and why she comes with this vast background, yeah, I think I had to acknowledge that because how do you not?
Can we talk a little bit about your father so that just to celebrate him? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, my father, oh, great loving man. He's a very interesting man in a sense. When he was younger, he played a lot of violin. He loved instruments, and then my brother and my sister passed that on as well. Like my brother played the violin and my sister played the flute and the piano I I kind of strayed away from it a little bit, but because of my dad, he absolutely loved it. He loved classical music. He was very studious as well. My grandmother would always say to me, "Your dad just went from home to school and school to home, Helen, and he did nothing other than that." I was like, "Really?" Apparently, he loved being in his own space. He loved reading. He loved classical music with because my grandfather has a room. He has a huge speaker, and they would just listen to music together. And I
Wow.
think that's really interesting as well, the love of music, and it kind of
Yes.
is shown in our family still as well. Like my mum loves music. We have music constantly around our house. So a big testament to how I was growing up. But yeah, my dad, he was actually quite strict when he was younger with his
Mm.
friends. He wasn't as outgoing person to
Mm.
my mum. So there was a big drastic difference. So my mum was like a community person, being with family. And my dad was kind of the opposite in the sense that he loved being by himself. He loved being in his own space. And then all of a sudden they fell in love.
Wow.
And the pair was so interesting, right? Because how does that work? Because they're so
Yeah.
different, but it works.
Wow.
And my dad, he was very quiet of a man, and then he when every time he would see my mum, apparently my grandmother said every time he would see my mum, that's when his face would light up. So, yeah, it was a big difference. And then, when my parents had us, that was different as well. His face completely changed. He was super, super loving towards us. Like, I think that's the interesting part is that if you're coming from an ethnic or Asian background,
Mm.
you don't actually hear the word "I love you" that much. You don't touch your kids that much. You don't hug, give them kisses. But that's the complete opposite of what my
Wow.
parents did actually. But that's also because they didn't experience it when they were younger. So they promised that they would do that to their future kids, and also having traditions as well. Like Christmas is a big thing in our family. So yeah, my dad, every time he would look after us, he would give us kisses. He would always ask us, "How's your day?" He was super, super lovely. He was a hardworking man, especially coming to New Zealand. Like I said, our parents owned a cafe. He would wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. from Monday to Saturday. Mondays we weren't open. Mondays to Saturdays, he woke up 4 to 5 a.m. for 14, 16 years of our lives. And then he would finish work by 6 p.m. and with because my parents they worked together because they owned the cafe together. Yeah, they were both super hardworking and um oh it's it's really sad in a way that he wasn't able to kind of retire first and to kind of be able to travel Europe like he always wanted. Because he passed away, but in saying that, he was able to live such a great life, being able to do what he wanted. I feel like I have a lot of privilege despite being a woman and being Korean, of having a loving family, having a great support system, being able to go to school, being able to have education. My parents, luckily, we bought a house as well from my parent, because they were so hardworking that they were able to buy a house and then pay off the mortgage as well. So that in itself, that's a big, big privilege that, and I'm so thankful for what my parents gave to my siblings and I. Because if it wasn't for that, I think it would have been so much harder, right? Um,
I'm so pleased to hear all that's coming from you because I think sometimes people don't understand how hard Asian parents work. You know, like to give that to their children. They just assume we Asian have it all, but you know, like it's not. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of hardship.
yeah.
There's a lot of challenges that are untold story when your family lost your father. It's a big thing. And but all these stories sometimes are not being told or understand by the society. And also understand as a migrants how much sacrifice they have to go through to get
Mm,
there.
mm.
And so I'm so grateful that just through you, you know, like people get to hear it and to celebrate your father as well. And to see they not just doing a great job in terms of organizing their life, but they're also creating the next generation who is responsible, who have a vision, who want the best for the communities. And all that doesn't just come automatically. That came with commitment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think I'm very much grateful for them in the sense of, being able to come to a country where you don't know anything about, especially back into the early 2000s, like New Zealand. Like, what is New Zealand? And the only reason why we came to New Zealand was because my mum's best friend moved to New Zealand as well. So she was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
maybe we
Yeah.
should also go to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And to have a great, successful cafe for such a long time, to have that hardworking ethic.
Where was the cafe?
So it was in Three Kings near the Three Kings school because I attended the Three King primary school, and it was called Plaza Coffee Lounge. It was a great third space. So many people came. It was absolutely lovely. I had so many childhood memories from it just because every time if I go to school a little bit earlier, then I would go to the cafe, help my parents out, and then my siblings will also be there after school as well. I would go back to the cafe and then I'll help out clean and stuff, and then we go home together. So I think my work ethic has kind of grown from being like work. I was that Asian kid at the back of the cafe, kind of helping out my parents doing the dishes. But yeah, like I said, it's a lot of privilege in that sense. That I do have, to be honest. That I don't think many people can say the fact that you have hardworking parents, but also is a parent that also prioritizes their kids to like show them either through physical touch or words of affirmation. That's something that's so rare.
I agree, especially from
Yeah.
Asian, that is really rare. And I love it because you mentioned your parents actually made a very conscious effort to make that changes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I I don't think people understand how hard it is for
Yeah.
Asian parents to do that.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I've had conversations with my mum now, and the reason why I say it is hard because I hear it from her. I hear from her lived experience. She's told me that being able to run a cafe, being able to look after your kids at the same time is super difficult because especially in a foreign country as well,
Yes.
it's something that is so hard to achieve because you just don't have the energy, to be
And
honest.
also and also people don't understand if you're back home, you might still have cousin,
Yeah.
grandparents to help out.
Yeah.
There's no one.
Yeah,
Like if they're sick, they're sick. There's no one they can fall back on and
yeah.
say, there's not like you have your uncle, auntie here where you can pick up the phone and say, can my kids come over? There's just no option for that. That is
Yeah.
the reality of many migrants struggle is that kind of alienations when you really need extra hand. It's just not there for us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the hard part. I also recognize that like despite me saying that my parents as I come from a very happy family, but simultaneously there's so many parts of it where my parents would fight. There's arguments, but it's not because they dislike each other. It's because of the stress that comes with
Yeah.
moving to a foreign country, with
Yeah.
owning a cafe together, with not
That's right.
actually having people around them to support
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I was able to be supported by my parents by
mm.
my peers. But the thing is that that's not the same with my parents. They only have each other. And, it's the same thing. If you want to be with your partner 24/7, it's really difficult. Even with a
It's
friend, it's really
stressful.
difficult.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something that, they
Mm,
would always have fights here and there, but they know
mm,
that they have to trust each other and rely on each other because that's the only way that they will keep on surviving. And I think that's the main part is the last 15, 16 years, it's probably of just them thinking that we have to survive. We have to
yeah,
survive. We have to
yeah,
get that permanent residency. We have to get that citizenship.
that's right.
That's insane. And like for me
And
to just say
yeah,
I'm a New Zealand citizenship, it's so easy, but there's so much story that comes from it. Like for instance, really crazy because like I said, my dad would open up the cafe by himself. So he would wake up at 4, 5 a.m. and then go open the cafe at 6 a.m. To set up by himself while my mum is looking after us. And then one day he was opening up the cafe and someone behind him was trying to rob him. But back then my dad had his backpack with the
yeah,
money for the what's it
yeah,
called?
that's for the two. Yeah,
Yeah, the for the till, yeah.
yeah.
So my dad was like had the backpack on, and then there was someone behind, and the money is not the thing that my dad is worried
Mm,
about. It's
mm,
about his passports that's in it, the
mm,
paperwork that he has because he
mm.
needs all of that to get a permanent residency, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
So as soon as the guy said to him, "Here, let me take I need your bag," and started shouting at him, he got frightened, obviously, but then he had to give it to him because the guy had a weapon, I think.
Yes,
But
yeah,
my dad fully ran after him for like 10 minutes down a intersection somewhere, and my dad had to fight it. Like, my dad literally fought him. He also was practicing taekwondo
yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
my dad fought him because the only thing he was thinking about was, "I need to get that paperwork. I need
Have
to get my
yes,
passport because if we don't have that, we have to move back to Korea. We're getting kicked
yes.
out." And the efforts and the sacrifice
Wow,
that we made now, everything's gone in a heartbeat. So that's the only
wow.
thing he was thinking about. Not even his life. He was thinking about
No,
his kids and his wife. His life was
wow.
nothing. He was just like, "I have to go fight this person because those paperworks is the most important thing in my life
Yeah,
at the moment."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's crazy, isn't it?
Wow. So he managed to get it back. I mean,
Yes. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
It was
And
okay. I mean,
yeah, he was fine. And I think the funny part is that my mum was yelling at him saying like, "You could have been more careful,"
yeah,
and like, "Why did you race after him?" But then at the same time, it's both sides, right? Like, you're angry that he put
yeah,
himself your
yeah,
own husband put himself in that situation, but at the same time, she recognizes that if that wasn't the case, then they have to go back to Korea.
yeah, yeah. Your father badass.
That sums up my dad in a way.
Wow.
He's a very strong person,
Yeah,
and he is the most hardworking person in my life. That's why I look up to my parents so much. And I think people easily say that because it's something that you can say, right? Like, "Oh, I
yeah,
look up to my parents and
yeah,
blah, 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 blah." But I genuinely have
yeah,
so much love for them just because I know what they've gone through and because of
yeah,
their stories as well. Um, it's hard. It's genuinely hard coming into a country where you don't know anything. It's not the sacrifices, it's like in terms of, like leaving. It's not as simple as just leaving everything that you have at home. It's your support system like we talked about. It's the
yeah.
potential careers as well. It's like my parents also owned a bakery back in Korea,
Mm,
so being able to leave that a successful bakery as well,
mm,
and it's hard. It's really hard because
mm.
you have to start fresh. And it's like
Exactly.
it's the equivalent of, being in a job for 20 years and then actually I don't really like this job and changing to another job, but having the stability is not there anymore and you
No.
have to build it up from scratch. And
And
I don't know how they did it.
with the family, it's not just a person. It's with the kids and all that. So I
Yeah,
hear you. Yeah.
yeah.
I I have to say, like there's a things I really appreciate that you're sharing, the history of your father, and I really appreciate the opportunity to even get to hear about him. And so I'm really thankful. It was supposed to talk about you. I do know there's a problems, like then I get curious and I take it to another direction. But also on the other hand, without them, it wouldn't have you as well and who you are today. So it's really to celebrate you and them at the same time. Can I ask you, because you have done so many community works in the past, right? I would love you to pick one that you feel you most probably proud of most resonate with, or really still, like stand out even today when you think about all the work that you have done. That's
Wow,
a hard
that's
one.
really that's so hard. My God. You know what's actually really interesting is that so I mentioned earlier that I volunteered at such a young age, but the thing is that when I think in the middle of high school, I actually stopped volunteering just to focus on the studies and stuff. And for like 3 to 4 years, I didn't do anything. And then when I started university, kind of COVID hit. But then
Mm,
once we were actually able to come about and go to uni and stuff, like I wanted to go back to community and like go and volunteer again. And I think what really connected me back to my volunteering roots is actually our University of Auckland Volunteering Club. So basically, the University of Auckland, we have a big volunteers club. There's around, I want to say, 2,000 people
wow.
who sign up every year to become a volunteer. And luckily, I was able to be on the executive team for it. And every year, we actually have two big flagship events. The reason why I bring it up is because there's so much hard work that goes into the flagship
Mm,
events, but it's so worth it just because of the impact that we were able to create. So one of the flagship events was Volunteers Day. So Volunteers Day consisted on a Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We partnered with around 5 different organizations outside of university, and we had around 200 volunteers that we evenly allocate them throughout to the different organizations based on their preferences. And the reason why I love doing that, besides all the planning chaos, is the fact that everyone is there to do one thing, to give back. And I think it's just such a selfless thing to do. Like I said, volunteering can be quite selfish and selfless, but everyone is there at 7 a.m. to be like, hey guys, you have to be, everyone there is at 7 a.m. to hear the briefing, and we take them on buses at 8 a.m. Like, it's quite a commitment to
yeah,
volunteer for around 5 hours on a Saturday where you probably
yeah,
had a big week. You probably just want to rest. You don't want to
yes,
wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the morning briefing as well. And being able to see that commitment is great. We've had great feedback from the organizations as well. And we've been doing it for over 5 years, having that volunteers
wow,
day. And it's just one of the things where we kind of need more within the community. Even just that level of commitment is really good. I think some people are really scared to volunteer just because sometimes you have to do it by yourself and you have to get yourself out there and meet new people. But I think the best part with our Volunteers Day is that because we're all student based, and everyone has similar backgrounds, you just kind of rock up and there's always going to be someone to support you. And the volunteers exec team as well is super supportive. So every time we go to those different organizations to help out, for example, like Habitat for Humanity, it's just great. It's amazing just to see the impact that we have created.
wow.
Because they don't have enough volunteers. It's a thing. It's difficult to actually get good volunteers and trustworthy volunteers as well. Especially in the climate where a lot of people would rather get paid to be a
Right.
volunteer, to be honest, which makes sense, which definitely makes sense. But yeah, I think it's very selfless for so many students to come out on a Saturday morning to help out different types of organizations. But yeah, I think that's definitely one of my things that I always think about when it comes to volunteering and community. It sheds a big light of what we can do together and how do we uplift others in the process as well. Yeah.
There's a lot of numbers and there's a lot of organizations with that amount of people are sharing 5 organizations together. I can't even imagine the organization behind it to make the monster happen. But it's greater by numbers, isn't it? When you have 200 people can go to a single event, imagine the impact it has. It
Yeah,
must be
yeah.
enormous. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, like, the background, you can see my dog's eyes. Um,
She's so
yeah,
cute.
yeah, she's so cute. But the background of all the event planning, it's always chaotic, right? Anything to do an
Yes.
event, but at the scale where everyone is going to different organizations out of campus as well. It comes with a lot of risk, but thankfully our team was always super organized and they still continue to do it as well. Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. Just it kind of reminded me again why I volunteered from the first place. To be in that environment definitely reminded me, just because
Can
I fell out of love of it. And
yeah.
then I wanted to go back into it. It made me think, oh, okay, I feel like I have my spark back a little bit.
Yeah, because I have done many different events as well. I don't think people understand how much hard work it go behind the scenes to
Yeah.
make event happen. It look easy, but man, the work behind it and then the heavy lifting you have to do to get things organized and move things along. It's not an easy piece. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not. It's always just like communication as well.
Yeah.
It's like communication with your team, but also with the organizations as well. So a lot of patience that come with it, but it's months of planning. But it's always worth it. Definitely. It's always worth it.
Can I ask you, there is three questions. The first thing is where you at right now in your life?
Wow.
You're young, but at the same time, I felt like you have lived such a long life.
It's so hard to say, to be honest. Like, I feel, um, I feel in a sense it's going to be an emotional year for me. So
Mm,
like I said, I've been in uni for the last 7 years or 5 years doing my bachelor's conjoint and then 2 years doing my master's now. And it is going to be really emotional because I think being in university has been a strong foundation of who I am. And also been kind of, it's in a sense like it provides stability.
mm,
When my dad passed away when I was 19, I was in first year uni. And when I finished my bachelor's, it felt like a big accomplishment because
mm,
finishing a bachelor's is hard, but
mm,
losing a dad in the first year and being able to support my family and also going through a lot of mental health problems as well, kind of going through all of that. And my bachelor's was a big completion in terms of how I looked after my family, but also
mm,
doing community and uni simultaneously. It was a big chapter. And I think this year, the reason why I say it's emotional is because the uni part, I'm actually closing the big chapter now.
yeah.
Um, and it feels like I'm saying goodbye to
Mm,
part one of processing my dad's grieving in a
mm,
sense.
mm,
Um,
mm,
and saying goodbye to the 19-year-old me and what I experienced, all the great memories that I've had, but also leaving a big legacy of writing a dissertation to kind of make it like a big stamp of here is what I did, here is my passions, all within this one big document. But outside of my masters, I'm actually contemplating if I want to move overseas next year. 3 weeks ago, I had a good conversation with my mum, and the ending of that conversation was that I'm going to be moving to Australia.
wow, I think it would be great.
Because my brother's living in London and it's so expensive to live in London. And that is a goal. I really want to move to London or New York, the big mega cities, because there's a lot of like policy think tanks over
Yeah,
there as
that's right.
well. So it'll be really interesting to see what it would be like working there. But at this point in my life, it would be just really great to move over to Australia for 2 to 4 years and then move over to London and New York once I have more of a financial stability. Yeah, I've decided to move once I finish my masters. So I think it's really good for me to move. A lot of stuff has happened in Auckland, a lot of great stuff, a lot of sad stuff. But I think I've outgrown this place, like many do. But the thing is that for me is, I know I'll come back. I really want to give back to the people here still. The main thing is that I want to learn how policies are working overseas and be able to learn and actually see if we can implement that in New Zealand is kind of the main goal, which is within the next over 10 to 15 years. But it would be amazing just to see how things are working overseas because you never know if that's applicable here. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. And I'm really happy just to decide on moving because I was a little bit nervous just because, my mum, I'm still living at home with my mum as well. So I'm a bit nervous in the sense of, will she be okay? My sister's still living in Auckland with her family, but it's not the same because she has her
Mm,
own family. She's married now. She's someone
mm.
else's now.
Mm,
Yeah, my mum will be living by herself, so I think that's
mm,
gonna be a big chapter for her.
mm,
And I was a bit worried about it for the last couple years, but after we've
mm.
had multiple conversations, I think it mentally, just feels like the right time. Think I feel quite calm, like my nervous system feels really good about it. My mum, she feels really good about it as well, and I think that gives me a lot of confidence that I can make this big step in the next stage of my life. Yeah, and so
And
finishing my masters and moving
to
possibly.
to to be honest, your mom would be so proud of you because that's all she wanted. If she knew she's the only reason she held you back, she wouldn't want that for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's she also like she tells me as well, like, I don't want you to stop your dreams, especially someone who's like you, Helen. And I think that breaks my heart quite a bit. I love my mum so much. Like, I have so much respect for her and how much she's overcome.
Me too. I have so much respect of both your parents.
Yeah, exactly. And I think being able to have that like love for her and that deep relationship with her, it's really I think it's so much more harder. It's actually her birthday today, which is really funny. So it's great that we're talking about good stuff on her birthday.
My God. Please tell her happy birthday on my behalf.
Yeah, of course. But
And she has raised such a beautiful daughter. Amazing. Both of your parents.
thank you so much. But yeah, it's I think yeah, I've lost my train of thought now.
That's,
But
yeah.
But yeah, I think the next step will just be finishing my masters and then moving overseas. My mum and we had a great conversation in terms of, I don't have a partner. So being able to move at such a young age is something
Yeah.
that is great.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting because she met her partner when she was 19, my dad. So she met my dad when she was 19, and that's the same with my sister as well. And I think for her, the reason why she's really pushing me out is because she wants me to experience a different life that she's never experienced in a way. To be single in her mid 20s and to be able to travel, be career focused as well. And I think uh, it's just yeah, that's just something that's really new for our family as well. Just because my sister also got married to her husband that she met when she was 19.
Oh,
She
wow.
lives in Auckland as well. It's very different. So she's really excited for me and she always says to me, which is really sad in a way, that she doesn't want to get sick because if she does get sick or she hurts
Mm,
herself, she knows that I won't leave. She knows that we'll be
mm.
coming to support her, which is great that she has kids like that because it's not that easy to say or easy to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think she just feels a lot of guilt in a sense because the last couple of years has been quite hard for us. But
Mm.
in saying that, we'll always do anything for her.
Yeah. And because of that reason, equally, she'll even have a greater reason to look after herself. She's well and all that. She wants her kids to be happy. Thing is, it has to come from her. And so that is another motivation for her.
Yeah, definitely. It's honestly like the smallest things, right? Like for her to go out and have a walk, like being
Mm,
able to do stuff by herself. Like when my
mm.
dad passed away, in terms of how do
Uh,
you look after your parents?
Absolutely.
She because of that process of kind of the grieving process and how does she as my mum, how does she kind of find herself again? Because she's so attached to her husband that she met when she was 19. So I'm
Mm,
excited for her for when I leave because she has no commitment to her kids, to look
mm,
after her kids. She doesn't have to
mm,
feed their food. She doesn't
mm,
have to, say, "Did you eat today? Did you do the washing
mm,
or whatever?" She can do what she wants to do. She can
mm,
travel if she wants to. And in a sense,
mm,
it's her new 20s that she
mm,
wasn't
mm.
able to actually experience. And I think there's a part of her where she's actually quite excited.
It's like,
She's talked to me as well. She said she kind of wants for me to leave quicker. She's like, "You're old enough now. Please leave."
oh, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
she's
And she can visit you in Australia. It's even
yeah,
better. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's the best part, right? Like, you
Yeah.
see so many people moving to Australia because it's a lot better, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it's also the convenience of it. New Zealand is so fun. The only place to is Australia.
By the way, even though I don't get to meet your parents, but I get to meet
Mm,
them. You know, like
yeah.
what a privilege that is.
Mm.
So I'm just really grateful. And the last questions I always ask ask all my guests is like, if there is a chance for you to go back to talk to your younger self, what advice would you give it to her?
I think just to be patient because my older siblings, because of the big age gap, I've always thought that I was running out of time in a sense
Mm,
because my mum had me when she was 38.
mm,
So back then as well, it's quite late.
that's right.
So I thought I was always running out of time with my family, with my parents. And that was kind of actually the biggest, like this, the worst fear that could happen. My parent, or one of my parents passing away, or both them.
Mm,
Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but
mm, mm,
it but in saying that, I think just being patient is just the main thing because everything will just kind of work out despite all the chaos in between. And I think it's a great reminder for myself still, to be honest, being patient of the next couple of years that I don't have to rush. I think, me being in university for the last 7 years, that's not typical for some people. Some people are
mm,
in university for 3 years and now I see some of my friends traveling and stuff and having their own lives in Australia or Europe, blah, blah, blah. And I look at them like, damn, I wish I had that. But also reminding myself that I have my own path and that I have to be patient because this is what I wanted. But yeah, I really want my younger self to be patient that everything will work out and to also just help my parents more in a sense. And I think that comes with different layers of stuff that I experienced, but just helping my parents a lot more
mm.
within just a little stuff, which is something that is so easy to say, but it's always quite hard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you probably have done more than you thought you were. I was just thinking your father would be so proud of you. It's just amazing human being, and you still carry on and leaving your legacy. And I think there's nothing better than, like people do know sometimes your parent legacy passes it on to you, even though they might don't have the life that they wish they could have. And there's nothing joyer than witnessing that as a parent to see their children thriving, which
Yeah.
is what your name is about. I felt like there's still so much to unpack, including your grandparents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so different. Like my mum's side comes from a military background and my
Wow.
dad's side is the complete opposite. So it's
Oh,
and like
wow.
just my parents siblings yeah, they're all from arranged marriage, but the reason my parents they married because they loved each
Yeah.
other. And that also came with different clashes from both sides because
Yeah.
everything was arranged marriage.
Wow.
It's really there's so many layers to it, but I'm glad I'm just able to share my story just because I think when you meet people, you don't realize the layers that someone has and what their lived experiences are. I definitely feel like when I'm doing community stuff or my research and stuff like that, people see me and go like, "Oh, your life is so put together. Your family, your friends and like you do all of this, but simultaneously it's not that easy, especially losing a parent at a young age. It comes with so much growth, so much strength, so much courage, and a lot of resilience. I'll be studying in my first couple of years at uni. I would just be crying because I miss my dad. And I'll
Of
be studying and
course.
I still have to keep doing this. But
Wow.
it's just having that resilience. And I think it just shows that basically people are all onions in a way. So many layers.
Thank you so much. Helen, I just couldn't say thank you enough
Oh,
for trusting me with everything so generously. And my hope is, like someone else who hear your story know that they are not alone.
thank
So thank
you.
you. I'm so sorry to make you
No,
cry.
you're good. No, you're good. No, genuinely, thank you so much for providing this platform and inviting me as well. Being able to talk about, 1.5 immigrant, but also 1.5 immigrant from New Zealand as well, which is so rare. A lot of Americans will talk about this, right? But being an ethnic person in New Zealand is also a very different story. So many different layers that come about it as well. And I'm just very thankful that you're able to provide me this platform to share my story, but simultaneously, you're also sharing your story as well, and your vulnerability and your patience and your amazing listening skills. So, no, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.